Hello and welcome to this very special edition of Global Dialogues. I'm Shereen Bhan and we're coming to you live from Washington, D.C., right outside the White House. And we are in conversation with the newly appointed CEO of global giant Honeywell. Vimal Kapur has taken over as the global CEO on the 1st of June and he joins us now live and exclusive for his very first interview in his new role. Vimal, what an absolute pleasure. Congratulations on your new role and thank you very much for joining us here on CNBC-TV18.
Yeah, thank you. Good morning, Shereen, and welcome to US. I hope you're having some good time here.
Well, it's a windy morning in Washington, D.C. is what I have to report, Vimal. But, let's start by talking to you about your tenure at Honeywell. It's been a long journey, 34 years. You started in India way back in 1988, and you've now moved all the way up to the top. In your own words, your leadership style is intense, and you want to go, go, go. So as you take on this new role, what is the vision that you have for the company?
Look, the Honeywell is having a great run. So my job is now to take Honeywell to the next level. And the opportunity I see is to align Honeywell with, say, big macros Honeywell support, which is air travel, energy transition, and automation. We have material play in each of these macros, and they are very meaningful for all of us as citizens of the world. So my job is to make Honeywell more meaningful in each of these segments and improve our financial performance.
When you talk about financial performance, under your predecessor, there was a CAGR growth during his tenure of about 9%. He closed out from $88 billion in market cap at $145 billion in 2022. So as you chart out this journey under your leadership, Vimal, what is it that you would like to see in terms of financials for the company going forward?
Yeah, good question, Shereen. So we have laid out a pretty well-defined financial commitments to the street. We commit our financial algorithm is 4 to 7% organic growth, 40 to 60 basis point margin expansion, and mid-teens cash generation. So when you do the math, that will derive a earnings growth which are close to double-digit every year, and then that should compound the valuation of Honeywell. So I expect to continue the good work done by my predecessor, Darius Adamczyk, who's our executive chairman now, and hope that I perform at the same or better rate in times to come.
Well, let's talk about your priority areas, Vimal. And you, even as COO, were tasked with the emphasis and the priority on digitization as well as on sustainability. Now, if I were to understand from you what you intend to do specifically over the next few years as far as these two particular areas are concerned, which have been your champion areas, your focus areas, and what will that mean in terms of the change of the complexion of the company?
So sustainability, let's start with sustainability and then I'll come to digitization. It's something which we all care about. We all know the climate change issue is real and it has to be addressed. We in Honeywell have several solutions, but the biggest impact we make is hard to decarbonize sectors. We provide solutions in sectors like air transport to decarbonize sectors like refining, oil and gas, power. And my vision is that how do we make Honeywell even a stronger proposition in energy transition in these solutions? So things like sustainable aviation fuel, hydrogen, carbon capture, HFOs, those are the areas where we can further enhance our play and not only grow Honeywell, but also be a meaningful player for the climate change solution for the planet. On the digital side, we have about $1.5 billion of software business, which we characterize as Honeywell Connected Enterprise. And that serves digital transformation of our customers in aerospace, in process industry, in buildings industry. And my focus area is how we grow that segment in double digits. It's going to be a lot of organic growth to solve problems of our customers in area of sustainability, cybersecurity, asset management. So collectively, these two are going to be a major growth drivers for Honeywell in next few years to come.
You talked about organic growth, Vimal, but let's talk about the inorganic aspiration as you expand in each of these areas. Is that going to be something that you want to consciously consider, want to consciously focus on? Is that an option that you are looking at this point in time?
Absolutely. Look, Honeywell, we constantly look at our portfolio transformation. It's important that we look what's relevant for our customers and our shareholders, and we constantly look at targets which can, make our portfolio more contemporary. So we're actively working on pursuits, but as you know that M&A deals are always, probability is till you don't get to the finish line. So it will be a priority, absolutely. And we'll, of course, do it with the responsibility to keep our shareholders' value intact. And at the same time, we want to make our portfolio more relevant in the times to come.
I'll get to the portfolio relevance in just a second, but I want to understand from you what the world looks like from your perch at this point, Vimal. Continues to be fairly uncertain, continues to be volatile. Even in terms of some of your high-growth regions, China, for instance, continues to be a high-growth region for you. How are you reading what's going on in the world at this point in time? What are your specific concerns with respect to some of your high-growth markets, including China and India?
So I would say that when we look at the world from Honeywell lens, the end markets we serve are doing very well. 2/3 of the Honeywell revenue come from aerospace business, air travel related, or energy business, and both have strong demand. So from our lens, the economy is doing well, and we need to perform, take our share in these markets. To your specific question on high growth regions markets like China, India, I will also put in Middle East, ASEAN, etc. I would say for most part, we see strong growth, better than mature markets in many of these regions. India in particular is performing extremely well. Middle East is performing very well. China, we are counting on strong recovery post-COVID because China is about a year behind the rest of the world in COVID recovery. And we do expect a strong 2023 in China. So overall, we have a pretty material play in high growth regions, and we continue to expect to perform better there in the times to come.
Vimal, let's talk about India, because you talked about how India is performing well and doing well in the Honeywell portfolio. Now, in terms of the kind of opportunities that you see, especially with regards to the climate transition, the energy transition aspect that you just spoke of, digitization as well, aviation, of course, a big market now with orders being placed by companies like Air India and others. What is the big bet from an India standpoint for Honeywell today?
Yeah, Shereen, I think I missed a few seconds of your question during the transmission. I think your question was how we relate with the growth of India. Honeywell is...
yes, and the big bets for India.
Yeah, so our portfolio is perfect fit for where India wants to go at this point of time. Look at what we do and where India wants to go. Honeywell is big in aerospace, and India wants to massively open its air transport sector. We have seen the news of Air India. We have seen the news of how other airlines are acquiring more planes. So that works perfectly for us because we are a big OEM provider for in the aerospace sector. India's big push for infrastructure. So infrastructure is not only roads or trains, but infrastructure is also about hospitals. It's about building new airports, and automating that infrastructure really plays well into Honeywell. Energy transition, India has some big plans to do energy transition in areas like hydrogen, adoption of more ethanol, and those are a few examples. And we are a big player in energy space, and we are working with all Indian customers as this energy transition work happens. So our portfolio fit is so strong with India wants to go, which gives me very high confidence that we are going to do very well in India next, times to come.
what would the aspiration be for the India business? I mean, just in the past year, you've seen your order book grow by about 12%. You've seen revenues grow by about 17%. But given what you just spoke of, the strategic fit between India's priorities and Honeywell's priorities, what's the aspiration for the India business?
Big aspirations, I would say, and in both dimensions, to our domestic business and how we want to leverage India for our global operations. I think there's no reason our domestic business should not double in next 4 to 5 years' time. The India GDP growth is strong, and we should grow at least 2x of the GDP. So if India continues to grow 6 to 7% range, there is no reason that we should not grow 15%, every year over the next several years. So that's one big aspiration. From, we have a big global operation in India. We have been present to leverage India for engineering services, for our operations for last 30 years. But also I see now a shift of that. While we keep it, the shift of that is going to be much more manufacturing oriented. As Make in India becomes more relevant, we see more supply base beings available, and we can source more from India. And I'll give an example. We set up, a manufacturing facility along with our partner, Naveen Chemicals. They have set up a chemical manufacturing facility captive for Honeywell in state of Gujarat. And that to me is a great example of how we are leveraging India's efficient cost manufacturing, facilities for our global business. And as I mentioned before, as Make in India creates more supply base, in defense, in aerospace, in other sectors, we expect that sourcing will become another priority for us for India. So it's going to be three-dimensional. It's going to be our domestic business. It's going to be our continued global operation for our engineering operations, and then more and more sourcing from India.
I'll pick up on the sourcing aspiration that you spoke of, Vimal. And what we are seeing at this point in time is a general sort of global reframing of trade. There is, of course, this move towards de-risking supply chains, and India is hoping to be a beneficiary of that. Now, how much of geopolitics is weighing on your decision to source more from India, to manufacture more from India for the world? How much of the India bet is also being taken in the context of this global de-risking that's shaping up?
We always believed in manufacturing local for local. So for us, the opportunity is less of de-risking, but more of better cost base and more resiliency. Certainly, that's part of the opportunity for us. But we always historically had manufacturing North America for North America, Europe for Europe, China for China, India for India. So that puts less work on our side to kind of de-risk question which you asked me. We don't have to go through that. But clearly, we have an opportunity to leverage the India supply base, which we don't do a lot today. So think about sourcing, castings, plastic parts, chemicals, electronic products. I think the opportunity on that front is way bigger for companies like Honeywell.
I want to go back to Honeywell and the global portfolio that you're working with at this point in time. How different do you believe the company is likely to look over the next 5 years? Are you also looking at to sort of evaluate your portfolio at this point in time and see what fits, what is relevant, in your words, to take forward, what perhaps has outlived its utility and its purpose? How different could your portfolio look like over the next few years?
So if you look at us, we always evolved our portfolio. What Honeywell is in 2023 looks very different from what it was in 2015. Since that time, since last 7-8 years, we had two major spins of our homes business and our turbocharger business. We made several big acquisitions. And if history is an indicator, that's going to continue, in the times to come. And as I mentioned, we really want to focus on those three big macros: automation, air travel, and energy transition. So you expect Honeywell to be heavily focused on these three big themes, and that's how our portfolio will evolve. And most part, our portfolio is like that. There are probably less than 10% of our business which doesn't fit into these three themes. So clearly, when the right opportunity is, we'll do some pruning, and our acquisition will be heavily focused on these three big themes.
You know, that 10% pruning that you spoke of, do you believe that you're on the cusp of being able to start that out? And what will that pruning eventually entail?
Yeah, so those are no one big thing. Thankfully, these are more like product lines. We review that with board, and we have some financial goals. When we are able to achieve those financial goals, we'll evaluate, any divestment opportunity. But we are never in any hurry, because we don't want to do it as a time-bound target. We want to do it when we get the right financial returns, and we run those businesses well. So I would say that simplification is a priority, and we will do it at the right time when we get right return for our shareholders for the segments which are lesser fit into our portfolio.
Okay, so accelerating the three priority areas and simplifying the overall sort of portfolio in keeping with those priorities, that clearly seems to be the focus for you. I want to understand from you, as you look at the world today, and you spoke about some of the opportunities that the company is focused on, that you as CEO are going to be focused on. But if I may ask you, what are the key risks that you're factoring in today? What are the key concerns that you're sort of preparing or geared up for?
I think key risk, Shereen, remains the geopolitical situation. We expect the world to not bring any more surprises. I think nobody predicted COVID happening in 2020. Nobody predicted a very high inflationary market happening in 21 and 22, or Ukraine war. So the risk always is the risk of unknown. And we in Honeywell has always dealt with it quite well. We expect to do that. But if less of that is there, we can perform much better for our shareholders.
Yes, the hope is that we don't get hit by any further black swan events. But Vimal, 34 years at Honeywell, you started your career at a PSU back in India before you moved to Honeywell, and it's been quite a journey for you. We've of course gotten used to the idea of seeing a lot of the large multinational tech companies having Indian origin CEOs. We're now starting to see that trend pick up outside of tech, and you're of course a great example of that. Why do you believe we're seeing the rise of Indian origin CEOs, not just across corporate America, but globally? What do you think is the X factor? What is making this trend tick?
I have one funny answer and one serious answer. One funny answer is that we are 20% of the world population. So if 20% CEOs are from India, that should not be surprising, right? That's on the lighter note. I think enough has been written on that, so I'm not going to offer any new opinion. But the fundamental challenging environment many of us go through, dealing with uncertainty and dealing with complexity, prepares us for managing complex organization. I think that's my thesis. The uncertainties in India, we don't like it. When we grew up, India was a country of shortages. There was no electricity, there was not enough water, roads were less, things of that nature. But the good news is how you learn and survive through that prepares you for dealing with difficult circumstances on a daily basis. And managing organization is, in the end, dealing with difficult circumstances every day, provide solution, lead the teams. And I believe that that training or that mindset prepares people from Indian origin, are relatively better compared to others, but there's enough thesis and research on that, so I'm not going to offer any new opinion to you.
Well, and I guess that's perhaps why you also enjoy taking on complex challenges as you have through the course of your career. The Prime Minister is going to be here. Prime Minister Modi is going to be meeting with President Biden. And we were just speaking with, many experts here who believe that the aspiration that India and the U.S. Should have in terms of bilateral trade should be at least $500 billion, if not more. In fact, we should aim higher. And many of the areas that, could be of mutual interest and of mutual benefit are areas that you just spoke about as opportunities for Honeywell. How do you see the US-India relationship? What's your expectation, your ask and your hope from this meeting between Prime Minister Modi and President Biden?
I would say the relationship is extremely well. So take it to the higher level is expectation of everyone. There are technology areas which have been well identified, ICET areas. So we talked about manufacturing broadly, but in particular, high-tech manufacturing. Defense remains an area of mutual cooperation. We as Honeywell has interest in that, so we'll certainly support what both governments want to propose forward. Sustainability, climate change is an area of mutual interest. It's an area where collective will of all human beings is required to solve the challenges in front of us, so that collaboration should improve. India is doing some great steps. We in US have a lot of great technologies to offer, so how do we form a bridge to do that faster is another area I think we can do better. And finally, I would say in the area of computing, cybersecurity, that's another area where more collaboration and opportunities are there to work together. But it's like when the good news becomes better. This is something which is working extremely well. I had a chance to speak with Ambassador Sandhu a few days back, put forward our point of view. And I think opportunities like that are ample where we have access to the leadership of Indian government. They listen to us, they take our point of view. And I think that's a catalyst which I presume will continue to improve our relationship between the two countries.
You said that you met with Ambassador Sandhu and you put your points of view forward on what you believe should be done to nurture and further amplify and accelerate this partnership. Top 3 priority items that you put on the table.
It was the same things, Shereen, I mentioned. It's, developing more next step of policy in sustainability of climate change. That certainly, it's a joint agenda of two countries under ICET framework. How we collaborate more in the area of defense, because that's a priority for India, and we in Honeywell have a lot of expertise in that area, so how we bring that forward. So those two are, to me, the top 2 priorities from Honeywell perspective.
Vimal, you talked about computing and cybersecurity as being potential areas of partnership and collaboration. But I also want to understand from you, everyone at this point in time is talking about AI and how AI is going to be transformative and disruptive for not just organizations, but for humanity. How are you gearing up for an AI-led, AI-driven world? What kind of bets are you placing on that front?
So I would say it's early days for AI. We have to overcome the hype factor and figure out what do you do with it. And we are certainly looking at several areas to apply AI, both in context of our own operations, but also in context of our customers, because we have to look at from both the lens. For a company like Honeywell, which is an industrial manufacturing company, we see big use of AI in our software development. As you can imagine, there's a huge anticipation that coding work, software development work will dramatically become more efficient. So clearly we should benefit from that. We also see a lot of tasks in which we interface with our customer, like technical support. Those functions can be heavily automated. And that's good for our people and good for customers, because those are skills which are not easily available, so AI can complement that. And then on the offering side or on the product side, we believe that a lot of work we do on our software platform, Forge, how we monetize that data for better use for our customers using AI is something we have to evolve. We will work with our customers, our partners, and do that. So I would say it's exciting, but we have to score some runs here to turn that excitement into real business benefit for ourselves and for our customers.
Speaking of runs, Vimal, what are you passionate about currently outside of business and outside of the role that you play as CEO? Are you managing to catch up with cricket? What else is driving you? What else do you make sure that you get to spend a little bit of your time on?
Yeah, cricket, not as much. I mean, of course, I am a big cricket fan, but I think as you start living outside, you slowly lose touch to it. But uh, staying healthy is my passion. I would say how you keep yourself, because your work is quite stressful. So you need make sure that you're able to deal with the stress. So keeping yourself fit and maintaining a good healthy regime is my big passion outside work.
Well, Vimal, we wish you the very best of luck, and we look forward to seeing you back home in India. And congratulations once again on your new role, your tenure, and look forward to seeing you.
Sure, and good luck with your trip in US, and best of times ahead.
Thank you very much. Well, that is Vimal Kapur, the new CEO of global giant Honeywell, speaking to us, his first interview since he took over. That's it then on this edition of our special series, Global Dialogue. We're coming to you live from Washington, D.C., right outside the White House. For now, from all of us here on the team, goodbye. Thanks for watching.